Welcome to EA Basketball Daily, December 14th, 2022. This is everything you missed from the NBA last night, starting with a cracker of a game, crazy game, Celtics over the Lakers. This one looked like a blowout for the Celtics for about the first 2.5 quarters. Lakers go on a 36-6 run, take a 13-point lead with 3 minutes left. Celtics come back to force overtime. And then, of course, once it goes to overtime, it's over.
It's the Jayson Tatum show.
It's the Jayson Tatum show. And also, it was anything but the Lakers show or the Anthony Davis show. Anthony Davis got one touch in overtime. One touch. Not a shot. One touch of the ball in overtime. Russell Westbrook hit 2 quick buckets. It looked like he might be the hero because it was clear that LeBron was gassed. Anthony Davis was kind of gassed. 43 minutes for LeBron, 46 minutes for AD. Russell Westbrook comes in, tries to be the hero, and then takes 2 back-to-back jumpers, uncontested. And at that point, the Celtics had a 6-point lead. Focusing on the bright spots for the Celtics, they don't go winless on the road trip, so good for them. 44 points for Jayson Tatum, 25 points for Jaylen Brown. Tatum really went off in the fourth quarter in overtime. Well, in the last 3 minutes in overtime, I should say. What did you see from this one? Because it was all over the place.
It was all over the place. I had myself convinced after the Bucks-Warriors game that this would be a really good game. Glued to the TV for the first half. Everything I saw told me it was probably a wrap. So I pivoted to doing other things, playing a little Hades, watching the score. I checked it at one point, and the Lakers had pulled it close. And I was like, all right, I'm going to keep watching the score. And then next time I checked, they're up 2. So I had it back on, and it was AD being a monster, LeBron playing an incredible game.
Yes.
And them having zero help beyond that. We can get into that, but
yeah,
it's just the Celtics without their starting big and their backup center. We're obviously going to struggle with AD and LeBron getting in the paint. That happened, but I think the Lakers just keep getting themselves into this position where they're giving up these huge first half leads, expending all this energy to get back into the game that obviously is more draining. And they just don't have any gas. It got to overtime, and that one touch Anthony Davis had was a pull-up 3, sort of half in transition. He looked tired, and as soon as he threw it up, it barely caught rim, mainly just hit the backboard, and Reggie Miller's they're tired. They don't have anything left. There's nothing left in the tank. And this is 2 Lakers overtime games in the past week that looked like that. They battled really hard to force overtime and then just couldn't get it done in overtime.
Yeah. That was the shot that we just watched there. That was Jayson Tatum tying the game with about 14 seconds remaining. And yeah, LeBron was tired by the end of regulation. You can tell because that attempted game winner, he kind of double clutched it. He jumped and then still had to kind of push through with his arms. So not obviously, and Reggie Miller at one point says, "What a poor fourth quarter for the Celtics. This is going to be really a bummer of a loss to take home with
such a disappointing ending for the Celtics."
Yeah. With 3.5 minutes to go, and then boom, it's a game again. And that Marcus Smart steal in the inbound, I was like, "There's a lot of time left. Watch them choke this." And sure enough, I do want to say Russell Westbrook did have an okay game. I mean, he 7 of 19 isn't ideal, but that kind of comes with the package of Russell Westbrook. 20 points. 14 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks though. He was all over the place on defense. He was doing his best to kind of carry the load on the perimeter D. But Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are at this moment currently averaging the most points in the history of the NBA by a duo of teammates ever. So they're kind of on a level that's never been seen before, you could say. Any other takeaways from this one? I mean, not a lot to focus on.
Yeah, I mean, Lakers roster construction has been a topic of conversation for a couple years now. But watching them compete against the Celtics, to me, really kind of drives that point home. They got 90 points from AD, LeBron, and Russ.
Yeah.
What more can you ask for? I mean, that is exactly what you need from your big 3. but the team as a whole shoots 27% from three. They get 1 3-pointer from Lonnie Walker, 2 miraculously from Pat Bev, and 1 from Kendrick Nunn. And that's it. They built a team around AD and LeBron of people who can't shoot.
Yeah.
And nothing's changed about that.
Yeah.
So that was frustrating to see. As you know, we're going to have to watch a million Lakers games this year. I'd rather they be a little bit better on that. They're a tough watch. But did you hear Reggie Miller? I was going to ask you about this. His comment about the trophy unveiling.
No, I don't.
He
know
was
if I caught that one.
Talking about the Michael Jordan MVP trophy. It sounded halfway like an NBA PR release because he was like, I can guarantee you now that it's the Michael Jordan trophy, that is just amping it up a notch. These guys are going to play harder the rest of the year for the Michael Jordan trophy. I mean, he knows the, player mentality more than we do. Maybe he's right, but I just do you think Luka Doncic is playing harder now for the Michael Jordan trophy?
Oh, well, now that it's the MJ,
Yeah, Reggie, just another fun night with Reg.
So. As they almost always are. Did you see, shout out to No Dunks, Skeets was saying all of the trophies look the same, other than the MJ one. It looks like he painted a Lego person gold, put it in a vase, and then just moved the position for each one of them. I don't know, 9 more. So, all right, we'll move on here. So, real quick before we move on, I want to say, while I was watching this game, as I've been watching all these games throughout the week, the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking, is this more of an X loss or an X win? And I didn't know what to make of it, because at one point I was like, oh, this is a Celtics win, when they were blowing them out in the third quarter. And then I'm like, oh man, this is a Celtics loss. And now it feels like a Lakers loss because they choked up that late lead. Do you agree? Was it a Lakers loss or a Celtics win, or what was it there?
Yeah, this one is a mixed bag. I guess I'll go with John Anthony here. Let's say it's a Celtics win. Unbelievable performance from the Celtics. That's any night in the NBA. We see this all the time. Ooh, 20-point, halftime lead. Oh, this one's a wrap. And it's not. You have to deal with those, leads being blown. The Celtics, like you said, down 13 with 3 minutes left, and they still get it done. So that, as a Bucks fan, that scares me. The Celtics team has kind of proven their mettle all season.
Yeah. We'll get to your Bucks in a minute, but we'll start with what could be called one of the best games of the NBA season if you don't like NBA basketball. Not to take a dump on the Kings too hard here, but this one was over in the second quarter. Sixers over Kings 123-103, and that is being kind to the Kings there. They were up by 27 at one point. It was over in the second quarter. James Harden hit a couple back-to-back threes. He was facilitating. He kind of looks like what the Sixers hoped he would be. But Joel Embiid, Domantas Sabonis is a all-star level player, but it really just kind of highlights how elite Joel Embiid has been so far this season. He finishes with 31 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists in 30 minutes. It really just kind of felt like, he played into the mid-third quarter and I think a couple minutes in the fourth, but it was mostly just, I'm sure, to maintain some stats. Anything of note on the Kings here?
My brilliant take that Sabonis would play tough against Embiid, that didn't look great. But if you're the Sixers, Tobias Harris is really filling it up for them. He's doing everything for them. 21, 7 and 9 with a steal and a block. That's been how he's playing all season. So, I think after years of everybody saying part of the issue with the Sixers cap wise is what they're paying Tobias Harris, I think it's probably fair to say he's earning that contract now, and they'd really be in trouble without him, especially when they were missing Harden and Maxey. He was really the second option by a long shot.
Yes.
Shake Milton had another good game. They shoot 45% from three, where the Kings shoot 24% from three. So that was sort of the theme of the night, really poor shooting from the losing teams. Even Matisse Thybulle got in on the action. Little Ben Simmons Jr. Shoots 5 of 7 from the field, 3 of 4 from three. If you're the Kings, it's just obviously not your night if Thybulle's 3 of 4 from three. So just got to move on from that one.
If he's cooking you. I will on Tobias Harris, I will be interested to see how they integrate how his role changes, or what we see from it once Tyrese Maxey is back and he's the clear cut number 2/3, depending on the night. Because if Tobias Harris can keep this level of play up, like you mentioned, 21 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists last night for Toby. If he keeps that level of play up, or even just a touch below, while Maxey is there, now you're talking about an Eastern contender potentially. We haven't really seen the Sixers team gel and get healthy yet, so I'd be interested to see what happens there. On this Kings shooting, when they were winning all those games, when they went on that 7-game win streak, light the beam, all that. I mean, they're still lighting the beam when they win, but it doesn't really quite have the same energy that it once did. They were shooting the second highest in 3-point percentage, top 5 in field goal percentage. They were most in 3-point makes at one point. And now those numbers have taken a severe dip, and you're starting to see them lose these games. Obviously, they don't have an answer for Embiid, but if you're able to hit your outside shots, they probably would have stood a chance, and it wouldn't have been such a blowout at least. But instead, like you said, what was it, 24%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not ideal for the
Not
Kings.
Gonna get it done.
Yeah. In terms of standings, the Sixers jump up to the 5th spot. They're one full game ahead of the Knicks now in the East, and the Kings back in the play-in. We'll see what happens there, but the Kings, Jazz, Blazers just keep, it's like a merry-go-round. They just keep going up and down and all around. So it'll be interesting to see which two of the surprises this season actually make the playoffs. Anything else on that?
I think that covered it. Sixers
Cool.
look pretty good.
Let's get to your Buckaroonies taking down the Warriors in convincing fashion too. It looked pretty clear here who the dominant team in the game was. Takeaways from this one?
Yeah, really, just how well they were able to slow down the shooters of Golden State. Steph, Clay, and Poole really struggled. Couldn't get much going inside. Clay's 6 of 16, Jordan's 6 of 17, Steph's 6 of 17. So that's really how you slow down the Warriors. They don't let them get inside. They don't let them get that rhythm going. That's Poole and Curry. A lot of their game is being able to see the ball go in the net, get some easy layups, and the Bucks don't allow that. The Bucks played tough. Warriors still shoot 40% from 3, but you kind of limit who's shooting those. And it wasn't close for most of the second half. They really kind of had it on cruise control. Good point from John Anthony. Yeah, Draymond's snitching on fans, but he probably had a point. I haven't seen any reports of what actually happened. It was probably the fans' fault.
I imagine that's actually, yes, definitely the case. Milwaukee, there's some diversity there, but I feel like the people that can afford to sit courtside, maybe not. So my favorite thing about this was just anytime Giannis has a bad game, you can almost book it that the next game he's just going to go berserk. Statistically, for him, it's a normal game because he finishes with, what was it, 31 and 14, I believe?
30, 12, and 5.
30, 12, and 5, which, like, park. Yeah, right. With, this is what we were saying about LeBron years ago, was like, that's it, But one of my favorite moments from this was Giannis gets a rebound, and he's at the free throw line of the other side of the court, and who's the coach that was on the call? The brothers, Van Gundy. He goes, "Oh no, and he hadn't even crossed half court yet, and sure enough, Euro step dunk over 2 defenders, that is just pretty much what it's like playing Giannis and the Bucks these days. Brook Lopez, man, if you guys aren't watching Brook Lopez when he's on the court, you got to be watching Brook Lopez. We've always known about his outside shooting and what he adds on the offensive side of the ball, but he has taken a huge leap defensively. He's leading the lead in blocks, and he's currently the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. And so that's something to keep an eye out when you guys are watching these Bucks games. Doesn't always show up in the box score. 7, 7, and 2 last night with a couple blocks, but it was really cool to see him get a little bit of recognition from the broadcast last night. Van Gundy was talking about how he can't think of the last time he's seen a player grow and change his game this much late in his career, who was already a great player.
He's still the Nets all-time leading scorer.
Still.
He was kind of a one-dimensional player in Brooklyn, but he was phenomenal at it, and it worked for him.
Yeah.
And Van Gundy was talking about, even when he was still coaching in the league, as good as Lopez was, the scheme was still get him involved in every pick and roll you can. Get him in the rotation. We're going at Lopez every time. And now he's just a nightmare inside and shoots threes.
Yeah.
He wasn't shooting threes at all in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So it's just a complete 180. It's awesome to watch. He's the glue that kind of holds this defense together. And when you're a team like the Warriors, who really needs to cut inside and get some easy baskets, maybe you beat Giannis off a switch, and then you come around that corner and there's Brook Lopez or Bobby Portis. They're just a nightmare on defense, and that's going to be their bread and butter if they're going to get back to the finals.
John Anthony makes a case here. If he adds a Defensive Player of the Year and being a franchise's leading scorer, he could be a Hall of Famer if he gets another ring with Milwaukee. Maybe, who knows? 2 rings,
DPOY.
Could happen. Before we move on, I do want to just mention that the Warriors now are 2-12 on the road. That is now officially. Well, win percentage-wise, not worst, but they have the most road losses of any team in the NBA. Sorry, the Rockets have 13. I apologize, but of the teams, of the teams that we would think that I mean, before the season and at the start of the season, I was saying who's going to beat the Warriors, who's going to beat the Warriors, who's going to beat the Warriors, and now they're 2-12 on the road.
Turns out any team at home.
Yeah, right. 6-4 in their last 10. Of course, this is their they start a streak of a loss, but I don't know. They start of a streak. They just lost one. So as for the Bucks, they stay in that 2 spot for now. It looked like the Celtics were going to give them that 1 spot last night, but they did not after that loss or after that win against the Lakers. Anything else on your Bucks?
Them and the Celtics are just they're separating themselves at the top here a little bit. Now there's a 3.5 game gap between the Bucks and the Cavs.
Yep.
I think that's going to be the conversation for a good chunk of this season between those 2 teams, and sort of a question mark in the West. It's the Pels leading it. Do we think the Pels are in the same, stratosphere as the
category?
Bucks and Celtics?
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
So.
I mean, it feels like there's seasons like this every once in a while where you can feel it almost all season that the two teams at the top of the conference or top of the conferences are just on this collision course all year, and it just feels like we're headed for the Eastern Conference Finals. There's nobody that's going to stop them in the meantime. Now this is one of the seasons that has the highest parity in the history of the league. And actually, Bob sent a great stat last night to the A Basketball chat. He said there are more teams in the NBA this season within 3 games of 500 than any other season in history, a quarter of the way through. So that's why the parity is so high right now. I mean, that's why it feels like it's anybody's ball game. But like you're saying, these 2 teams are really starting to separate themselves. Yeah, I think the Pelicans are good, who we're going to get to in just a moment, but I don't think that they're on that level with the Bucks or the Celtics, and I really hope we get 7 games of healthy Celtics, healthy Bucks, because that will be super exciting to watch. So, all right, let's take a look at out west.
I think we got this one wrong.
Yeah, the Suns got extinguished on this one, boy. Let me tell you something. The Suns lose to the Rockets, 111-97. Boy, I wish I could give you a clear explanation of what happened in this one, but it really came down to the Rockets were just. It kind of felt like they just wanted it more. These young guys every once in a while they just go out there and I mean, they were the same on fast break points, second chance points they won, points in the paint they won. They shot around the same free throw percentage. They shot around the same 3-point percentage. Rockets shoot 42%. 22 turnovers for the Rockets, and they still win this game. But the Suns did not lead ever. A wire-to-wire victory for the Rockets. For the last place in the West, Houston Rockets. They beat the at one point top seeded Suns. What can you give me an explanation about this? Because I can't come up with one.
Yeah, 5th straight loss for the Suns. Pretty bad look. The last 2 years of drafting are really starting to pan out for the Rockets. I was high on Jalen Green, and then towards the end of last season, I was like, I don't know about him. But he seems to be legit. I don't have any concerns about Jalen Green anymore. Jabari Smith, like I said last time I talked about him, he's getting that three-pointer confidence going a little bit. Didn't know that was going to be part of his game as much, and then he goes 3 for 3 from deep last night.
Yeah.
So like you said, the stats are pretty in line. Doesn't quite nothing really stands out as to why this was such a big win for the Rockets. But to me, from the Suns games I've watched, one, obviously they desperately missed Devin Booker.
Yes.
They don't have that same shot creation without him. Chris Paul has not played well at all since his return. But Mikal Bridges has kind of been the unsung hero of this team for a while. He is the glue guy of the Suns. He does everything for them. I was thinking earlier in the year, like, he probably deserves a max contract if they move off of Ayton. You got to keep Bridges because he is just holding this entire thing together on defense.
Yeah.
And last night he goes 4 for 24 from the field, 2 of 10 from 3. That's going to kind of bury them. It's not really fair to him.
14.
Yeah, they should have more options than that. But without Booker, if he has a shooting night like that, they're in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all around, just kind of underwhelming performances from everybody on the Suns. I do want to give a shout out to Josh Okogie on that block on Jalen Green. That block and then fast break dunk, that was very impressive and very exciting. But other than that, that was about the only bright spot for the Suns in this game. While we're on the Rockets, Eric Gordon and the the Rockets are gonna work together to get him out of Houston finally. Get a rescue in the chat, please. He hopefully will be able to finally be freed from the prison that is the Rockets for the last few years. Poor man, poor guy. I hope he gets. Hope it works for both sides, but I don't know. On the Suns, man, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, they're definitely missing Booker. Chris Paul hasn't played well. They're 1-7 since the tweet. If you know what we're talking about, whether what was said in the tweet is true or not, they're 1-7 since it happened. So it's a little drama that got thrown their way, a little more drama, you could say. And since then, they're just struggling right now. They've lost 5 straight, 4-6 in their last 10. I mean, it isn't. It isn't looking too good for the Suns, who at one point had a 3-game lead in first place, and now they're a half game. They're 1 game above the play-in spots. So, I mean, that's just because the West is tight, but who knows? So,
where do you think Eric Gordon's going?
Oh, let's get spicy. Let's say we need a. Let's go with a contender. Let's say. Denver.
Ooh, I like it.
I like Denver.
I was going to say send him back to where he had maybe the best years of his career down in New Orleans.
I was thinking that, but I didn't. I was thinking that was one of my first thoughts, but I don't think the Pelicans would want to give up anything right now. Like they're doing so well, and I don't think they
got a trove of picks they could give up.
That's true. They could give up a pick.
They've got Devontae Graham on ice. He's like 20 years younger, Eric Gordon. So maybe they can do a Devontae Graham, Jackson Hayes, and a pick type of deal. Not giving up anything. You're playing 1 out of your 12 picks. Bring in a veteran shooter.
Okay.
I'll call that shot.
Well, speaking of the Pelicans, let's talk about the Pelicans. Whoopsies. We were wrong a little bit last night.
Yeah.
We were wrong on some stuff. The Jazz, man, they in what could be a first round matchup, we see the Jazz stop the Pelicans win streak, 121-110, and ends up being there's Jonas Valanciunas' face.
That's pretty much it. There's your recap.
There's the recap. Yeah. Not really anything crazy standouts wise for this one. This was a blowout for the Pelicans in the second half. They got their lead late in the second quarter, ended up leading by 27 points, as many as 27 points, and then the Jazz never looked back. You're seeing Malik Beasley because he was their team high scorer, but that's kind of as we were looking at each other like, I guess we could show Malik Beasley highlights. Zion, we thought, he might have a game with Markkanen checking him, and he did have a couple highlights with Markkanen on him, but still 26 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 10 of 16 shooting, and they still, I mean, he finishes at minus 15, which kind of shows how much of a dominant win this was for the Jazz. This just looked like they were kind of tired. It looked like they were kind of gassed. They, especially after this series over the weekend with the Suns, they just kind of looked like they were out of energy, and I don't really blame them as hard as they played in those back-to-back games against the Suns. The last one being an overtime game. This just looked like they were kind of out of it. What you got on this one?
Yeah, they were kind of taking this one off. Like you said, that surge to the top of the Western Conference. They're still 8-2 in their last 10. Yeah, they were a little gassed last night. Didn't have their legs. And like I said earlier, another poor shooting night. Pels shoot 15% from 3.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a recipe for success. Yeah. This was a game where they really could have used Brandon Ingram. I've been incredibly impressed with how this team has been able to get it done without Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
But he's sort of the release valve of this offense. When they're not creating for others, it's just a toss out to Brandon Ingram and let him go to work.
Let him get a nice
about that when nobody else is knocking down shots. It's just going to be a struggle for him. So don't want to read too much into it. Like you said, I think it was just a product of being really tired, missing some guys. But yeah, just poor night from the Pels. Good night for the Jazz.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I will say, speaking of ties at the top of the conference, Grizzlies and Pelicans are now tied, and the Grizzlies have done it very quietly. I feel like no one's talking about them like they were last year. The Pelicans are the Grizzlies from last year.
Yeah.
Everybody's on, oh, man, look out. Here they come. We got an MVP candidate, a young, exciting MVP candidate, in Zion. Ja last year, the very similar roster construction. They've got, 10 guys deep that they can play and on a court and feel good about. Now they're tied atop the West, and nobody's talking about the Grizzlies because Ja's missing some time here and there. He's really their highlight machine. Without him, it's pretty fundamental ball over there in Memphis when he's not on the court doing crazy stuff. So and the Nuggets are still only a game and a half back of first, so it's still so tight in the West. Anything is possible. And the Grizzlies have won 6 straight. And they're also 8-2 in their last 10.
Yeah, 6 in a row. Fun thing to remember about the Grizzlies now with Taylor Jenkins as their head coach. He was on Bud's staff for years up in Milwaukee. And that was always, prior to Bud winning that ring, that was always the knock against him, that they played a style of basketball that was always going to beat lesser competition. Mm-hmm. And it just came down to, can you do it against the other elite teams of the league? You always cruise through the season with 55, maybe 60 wins, but then you kind of flame out. And I feel like Jenkins is kind of building the same thing down in Memphis, where they're kind of a guarantee in the regular season. Mm-hmm. They don't lose to teams very often who are worse than them. Yeah, but we just got to see what it's going to be like in the playoffs.
Yeah, once winning time comes. All right, let's look ahead to tonight's games. Boy, whole bunch of headliners here.
Got to really have an eye for it.
Yeah, you got to know what you're looking for. You want to watch that Bojan Bogdanovic game against the Hornets. Let's go for it. Pistons, Hornets, Warriors, Pacers, Hawks, Magic, Kings, Raptors. That one could be interesting to see Sabonis and Pascal go at it. The ESPN doubleheader is Knicks, Bulls, and Wolves, Clippers. So you could tell that they did not. The league had some different expectations of what some of these teams were going to be at the start of the year.
I think you're right. Yeah. Cavs, Mavs is I think what I'll have on.
Yes, Cavs, Mavs will definitely be the highlight from the night. The Wizards are a G League team. The Nuggets should win that. But then again, every single time I say something on this morning show, it's the opposite. So let's go Wizards. Maybe they'll lose. I don't know. I'm not rooting against them. Sorry, Justin.
Clippers, Wolves. What do you got? What do you think?
Clippers, Wolves. I'll go Clippers.
Yeah. If I'm the Wolves, I look at some of these other games. I look at a team like, the Jazz, and okay, well, if I'm the Wolves, what do I need? Malik Beasley, that would be huge. Jared Vanderbilt, another presence inside who can fill it up. Maybe they can craft up some sort of trade package for Beasley and Vanderbilt.
Yeah, it'd be great if they had some of those role players. Again. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, Cavs Mavs is definitely the big matchup. It is in Dallas. What do you think?
I'll probably give this one to Luka, but I don't know. I don't know what they're going to be able to do inside with Allen and Mobley, but I think Luka is just going to be the best player on the court tonight. I love the Cavs, but I think he gets this one done.
Cactus has a prediction that Cavs Mavs goes to overtime. Yeah, I don't know what the Mavs do about the Cavs depth. Cavs have been kind of hot and cold, but they've got the depth there to at least hold their own, I would think. I'll go Cavs. Blazers Spurs. Let's hope the Blazers win that. I wanted to know. I have a fairly large bet for my props to you points on the Thunder to win against the Heat tonight because they've been so inconsistent. And the Thunder, I picked the Thunder. I put 500 points on the Thunder to get a win tonight, just because I'm that doubtful that the Heat can get anything going of consistency. So
no.
Anything else for you, my friend?
All right, I think that's a wrap. Let's go watch some soccer this afternoon.
Oh yeah, what's happening today?
France Morocco.
Oh yeah,
David and Goliath.
Are you rooting for Morocco to get all the way, right?
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for watching. Hit the link in the description of this live right here to join our Chalkboard group chat. The episodes are live on YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you watch it. Go check that out. And we will look forward to seeing you tomorrow, guys. Don't forget, EA Basketball.